Hello everyone and welcome back to the Synergy Sanctum. My name is Justin. Thank you so much for stopping by. Here at the Synergy Sanctum, we specialize in all things related to Magic the Gathering, with a specific focus on deck building. So I aim to show you very quick deck techs that'll show you all of the cards in the deck and how they work together to ultimately achieve the goals of that deck. If you're not already, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate that. And we also have a sister channel now, so head on over to Commander Coliseum and check out their content as well. And for today's deck tech, we have for you Elminster, Commander out of Baldur's Gate set, and Elminster is an EDH deck that is focused on scrying, doing a ton of scrying, and then being able to cast big spells for cheaper. He has a backup plan as well where he can make a bunch of fairy dragons off of those spells. So we do have multiple ways of winning with this deck. And we're in a blue and white, so a lot of control here. So Elminster says that whenever you scry, the next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn costs X less to cast, where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying this way. Now this doesn't seem very powerful out the gate, but if you check his rules text, this stacks. So if you scry once, that scry counts as a discount, and then if you don't cast a spell and you scry again, then you get to discount it by 2, and then you get to discount it by 3, and so on. So as long as you're not casting an instant or sorcery spell and you have ways of scrying outside of that, you're going to make these spells cost less. Elminster has built-in scry on him, so if you add a loyalty or 2 loyalty counters, he scries 2. So right there, you're already getting a discount of 2. And then if you're manipulating your deck and you're putting a big spell on top and you don't care about that spell, you can exile the top card with his second ability to create a bunch of dragons equal to that spell's mana value. So really powerful commander here, and we're going to get into how this is going to win today. Current TCG market value is pretty low compared to other decks, $120 to $201, and our land count is at 33, with 18 of those being basics between plains and islands, and 15 of those being non-basics. So, getting into it today, here are all of the ways that the deck has of scrying. So we have spells like Ugin's Insight, let's just scry X, where X is the highest converted mana cost among permanents you control, and then you draw 3 after that. Tamio's Epiphany is letting you scry 4. That's 4 discount on your next spell, really powerful. Thassa, God of the Sea, is letting us scry 1 at upkeep, so that's repeatable because she's indestructible. Study Hall is letting you do it when you spend the mana to cast your commander, so as long as you're casting Elminster with Study Hall, you're getting to scry. Serum Visions is letting you scry 2. Preordain's letting you scry 2. Jace's Sanctum is saying whenever you cast a spell, you scry 1, so it already gets the engine going again. Rivendell for 2 mana, you can scry 2 as long as you have a legendary creature, which we will. And then Mystic Speculation is probably the showstopper in this deck because it has the buyback. So for a single blue, you can scry 3, but if you pay 2 more, you can bring it back and do it again. So really, really powerful here. Geist of the Archives is letting you do it at upkeep, similar to Thassa, God of the Sea. And then even more scrying, Augury Owl is letting you scry 3 when it enters. 4C is letting you scry 4. And then Crystal Ball is repeatable with scrying 2. And then we also scry 2 with Deliberate. So all of these cards, when you get these going, are going to discount whatever your biggest spells are in the deck. And we will go over those big spells now. So we're running Storm Herd, which would usually cost 10 mana. It's probably only going to cost 2 white. And you're going to get to create a minimum of 40 Pegasus creatures if your life total hasn't been touched. If your life total has been touched, you can cast Reverse the Sands and switch the life totals around and take your opponent's life and give them the low one. We're running things like Nexus of Fate and Beacon of Tomorrows to take extra turns. Devout Invocation, 7 mana, but it would probably only be a white, and then you could tap any number of untapped creatures to put a bunch of angels out. So if you have a bunch of those fairy dragons out, you can tap them to make angels. Amanatu's Augury is letting you look at the top 8 cards. You can put a land from them onto the battlefield, and then for each non-land card type, you can cast it without paying its mana costs. So as long as you get a variation between instant sorcery creatures, you can cast them without paying their mana costs. Really powerful. Approach of the Second Sun is an alternate win con. If you cast it twice, you win. Mind's Desire lets you shuffle your library, exile the top card, and then you can play that card without paying its mana cost, but it has Storm, so you can do that multiple times. Hour of Reckoning is a board wipe for non-token creatures. We're not running a ton of creatures in here, so we're not too concerned about that, so we'll just have the fairy dragons out. Emergency Powers is sort of like a wheel, but if you cast this during your main phase, you get to put a permanent card, mana cost 7 or less, from your hand onto the battlefield. Clone Legion is saying for each creature target player controls, create a token that's a copy of that creature, really broken, and probably for 2 blue. Blue Sun Zenith is an X spell, so that X is going to go down for every amount that you've scryed, and then for 3 blue, you get to draw that many cards. And then other good stuff in the deck, so we're running Supreme Verdict, destroy all creatures. We're not really too concerned with board wipes, because Elminster is a planeswalker, and not a lot of decks play things to deal with that. We've got added value off of instant and sorcery spells being cast with Talran and Murmuring Mystic, making more tokens. Flyers as well. Saphara Sky's Blade, you can pay a white and cast her by tapping down creatures, and she gives other creatures you control with flying indestructible, so she protects your tokens. Spellskite, you could change the target of a spell to Spellskite. Reigns of Power lets you take stuff in case the token strategy doesn't work. Running Propaganda and Ghostly Prison to protect us. Flux Channeler is there because it proliferates, so you can keep Elminster's loyalty counters high. And then Gandalf, Friend of the Shire, is letting your sorcery spells be cast at flash speed, which is really broken here. And then more good stuff in the deck, so we're running Divine Visitation as an enchantment, because if you're going to make these 1/1 fairy dragons, why don't we turn them into 4/4 flying angels instead? Displacer Kitten is allowing blinks to occur when you cast spells, so we do have creatures with enter the battlefield effects, and that's going to be pretty solid. Cultural Exchange, we can give everybody a bunch of 1/1 tokens and take their big stuff. And then Aven Mind Sensor, little stacks here so that they can't tutor for answers. And then lots of counter spells and control in the deck, so we're running 8 counter spells. Render Silent, No More Lies, Permission Denied, Negate, Dovin's Veto, Counterspell, Arcane Denial, and an Offer You Can't Refuse. And then lots of removal in the deck as well, so we're running the Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshares to deal with creatures. Oblation deals with the non-land permanent. Return to Dust can blow up 2 artifacts and enchantments as long as you do it during your main phase. Curse of Swine is another big spell technically, so you can get a discount on the X based on how much you've scryed. Can hit Time Stop to end the turn. And then Perplexing Test, we can return all non-token creatures to their owner's hands so that the board's clear for our fairy dragons. And then lots of draw on the deck as well, so Brainstorm lets you draw, Op lets you draw, Rumor Gatherer is letting you draw if a creature's entering, so if it's a turn where you're making those tokens, you'll draw. Elegeth is turning your Scry into draw, which seems like a backward strategy, but you know, it's not that big of a deal if the Elminster stuff's failing. Archmage Emeritus is letting you draw off of the cast. Arcanus is giving you 3 and you can bounce them back. Quain's letting you draw, but letting everyone else draw. Curiosity Crafter says whenever a creature token you control deals combat damage to a player, you can draw a card. So you'll notice we only played the Spell Slinger token creators that make flyers, because we want to make sure our tokens survive. And then Time Reversal as our wheel. And then we have Ramp in the deck as well, so we're running a Thought Vessel for no max hand size. We're running Archaeomancer's Map to fetch planes out of the deck, and then Soul Ring and Arcane Signet are our rocks. And with that, our show has come to an end. Thank you so much for watching our video, and if you enjoyed that video, feel free to share it out with any friends who might find value in it as well. Thank you so much for stopping by. We hope to see you again soon. Have a good one.